beautiful thing right now.
Rise and shine, it's a beautiful day. I'm alright.
About a third of the building has been blown away.
This is the bridge to the white lights.
Our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts.
And at that point, we were taken for another round of questioning, this time related to our allegedly being members of Mossad.
It's crazy evil.
Good morning, good morning. Welcome to the No Way Jose podcast. This is the Morning Dump. I am your host, Jose Galison. It's a beautiful Wednesday morning. I've got a nice little run-in. I've had quite the morning already. It's not even really morning where I'm at anymore. I'm over on the East Coast. Technically we're calling, it's 12:30. We're calling it Morning Dump for the purpose of today. Sorry, I'm late. I thought I wasn't going to do one at all today. I was supposed to bring my kiddo to her first day of like a wrestling thing. But her normal, partner wasn't going to be there. That she would wrestled in last year. When she wrestled on the team, her normal partner wasn't able to make it. So we were like, well, we'll just go next time. So did have some stuff I had to do in the morning though. So that's why I was like, I didn't think I was gonna be able to do it all today. But one of those things fell off my schedule. So here I am, and I'm glad because, I'm glad. I kind of would prefer the kiddo go into the wrestling practice, but man, we do have some stuff to cover for the purposes of what we do here. I am glad that we are here because boy, oh boy, Trump doubled down, and then it's funny. That might even be the quintuple. I'm not sure. I've kind of frankly lost track, but I'm going with quadruple right now. But even then, literally probably 15 minutes or so before I hit this go live button, then I also another audio bite that we'll get to, which I guess that might be quintuple. We're just in astronomical levels of just really committing to this Epstein thing, and it's getting more and more suspicious and unavoidable by the day. It is getting to, ridiculous astronomical proportions. I don't even know where it can go from here. We got a little bit of Massie Vs MAGA stuff. We can continue our Dutroux program to kill in Belgium type thing today, and hang out with you guys. Try to keep this on the shorter side. I don't know. We'll see how that works. But pleasure to be with you all today. Let's roll with the morning video like we have been doing as of late. As the crowd rolls in, just kind of they sneak in. We're watching. What do we have? We have a substitute today. We're watching a movie. We're just chilling, watching the video. We're waiting for more of y'all to roll in. I got this one from Ken Klippenstein, and it says everything for itself here. This is from CNN. I mean, obviously, this isn't a area that I usually get news from, but I think it's all the more important the information we're getting here. So without further ado, let's watch this video together while we wait for more of the people to roll in to hang out for this morning experience, and then we'll say our good mornings. But here we go.
Let's go now to CNN chief data analyst Harry Enton. And Harry Enton, there's a new CNN poll that's just out. How's the controversy impacting the president's support?
Yeah, I would say that the word is dissatisfied. That is how Americans feel in terms of the releases so far of the Epstein case. Take a look here, Epstein case. Amount of info released. The winner here, 50% dissatisfied. Doesn't matter, 29%, not heard enough, 17%. But look at the bottom of your screen. The percentage that are satisfied is just 3%. That's 1, that's 2, that is just 3%. I feel like the count on Sesame Street. Just 3% of Americans are satisfied so far with the amount of information released. The clear winner in this particular case is 50%. Half of the public is dissatisfied, at least so far.
And are you seeing a big difference between how Republicans and Democrats are viewing this?
No, and that I think is kind of the interesting sort of nugget in what's going on here. You see this 50% dissatisfied, and let's...
No way in hell. Please tell me you're messing with me, Eddie Grimm. There is definitely sound. That's not funny. There's 100% sound. Let's keep playing this video. Please tell me that Eddie is messing with me. Let's keep going.
Break it down by party. Okay. Epstein case, amount of info released. Look at this. You get 43% of lean GOP, that's Republicans and independents who lean towards the Republican Party, who are dissatisfied. Look at this. Just 4% satisfied? My goodness gracious. When you only have 4% that is with Donald Trump on a particular issue, that is ridiculously low. I've never seen anything quite like it. How about lean Democrat? 60% dissatisfied. Compare that to 3% who are satisfied. Again, 4%, 3% Republican, Democrat. You rarely ever see this type of agreement. Now, of course, there's another divide in American politics, one that has increased over the past few decades, and that is whites with a college degree, whites without a college degree. But in this particular case, we see agreement. What are we talking about? This Epstein case, amount of info released, dissatisfied, 55% of white college graduates and 53% of white non-college graduates, Donald Trump's historic base, yet the majority are dissatisfied.
Let's go now.
All right. Well, I think the moral of the story here is, generally speaking, people aren't fans of child rape. I guess seemingly, unless you're part of the establishment, then child rape is A-OK. So I think we are more and more, despite the clumsy name that, what's his face? I can't think of his name. The McGowan. Despite the clumsy name, the pedophocracy, he's onto something. That is seemingly what differentiates us from them. It's kind of like the idea of, what's his face? Who's the Podesta? Like, anyone's looked into his art collection? The art collection that he kept up just out in the main areas of his home, the home with he, wined and dined all sorts of, powerful, connected, rich people, up into including the point where I believe, I don't know if it was Cribs or some shit. I'm not saying it was like an MTV Cribs, but there was some sort of video production, something or other at some point that literally came through and, he did a tour essentially of some sort of his house with these things up. For any of those aware of what I'm talking about, go look it up on your, at your own, with my warning, obviously. The sort of things that we're talking about here are very clear artistic expressions of what is the darkest things you can, like, it like insinuates these things. Like, you're not seeing like the carnal acts themselves, but they're kind of implied in this art series that he has, which is, and I think even then it's almost like an ongoing series. In the end, you can even see what looks like in this art series, what looks like, butchers, people cleaning up butcher knives and stuff, heavily implying once they've done their things, they dispose of them. Like, literally the darkest of the dark. Like, we're talking like elites hunting children type level stuff. Like, and this is the stuff they just keep up on their walls and just they show off to everyone, because I think to some extent, I think they're, especially the tippy top of these elites, I think they know. I think they know what this is. It's the thing that's unsaid. And I don't know. I think that's the deep, dark secret about all of this. So... but yeah, let's take our moments and roll through and say our good mornings. Good morning, King David. Good morning, Andrew Jacobs. Good morning, Mulgera. Good morning, Chemical General. Didn't I say no Wednesday show? Yeah, I fucking lied. Well, look at that. Yeah, I did. But good morning, Demon Hunter. Good morning, Rootless Redneck. Good morning, Eddie Grimm. Good morning, Tucker Delay. Good morning, PGAR. Good morning, John Black. He's saying my glasses didn't kill themselves. For those, I don't know if I ever addressed it, but I just finally, essentially my contact prescription ran out. And the funny thing is, if you've been watching my show for a long time, you know how I am. This totally makes sense for a thing I would do. Essentially, the first time, it was like a year or so ago, actually probably almost 2 years, I think, maybe even more. I went in to go get a new contact prescription, and then I just never followed up. I forgot to order contacts. I never ordered anything. I got a couple pair of glasses at that time. And so I got I think maybe one or two trial pairs of contacts, and I never ever bought contacts. And those are the trial pair that I used. And I made those two pairs last for something like 2 or 3 years. It was insane, because the only time I ever wore my contacts was when I'm with you good people, because I would just pretty much only wear them for podcasts. That's about it. But I got a new prescription, and now I'm actually wearing them a lot more. I don't know if it's a new brand, but they're super comfy. So I don't know. I wear them most of the time now. So for those who care, why is it Jose got? What's up with Jose's glow up? Well, I used to be cute before, and then my contact prescription ran out, and it took a while till my wife bugged me and was like, "You need to fix that. You look." I would like to be able to go out and be like, "Look at my sexy husband," instead of this dork with glasses. Fair enough. So, and I was also getting to the point where my hair is getting long, and it was doing this weird flippy thing on my frames that I didn't like, and I was like, I can't have that, so I got to get some contacts. So good morning, Mega Nerd. Good morning, Marnimac. Good morning. I already said good morning to PGR. And his name's Jose too, and he lives in San Jose. Actually, I don't believe that. No, you some weird rhyme there. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Nevsky. Good to see you here. Good morning, everybody. By the way, that was not funny what you did there, Eddie Grimm. It makes me, it freaks me out when there's no sound. You got my heart to jump a beat. Not funny. Not funny. Good morning to WS. Good morning, everybody. OP Jeff, Jose, what's the story about Timothy McVeigh having computer chip implanted in his butthole? It wasn't his butthole. I know Bill Cooper made claims that I believe it was his butt cheek, I think, or something. And I don't know, the Bill Cooper claims are pretty goddamn dubious. I don't remember the specifics of it. I mean, I think I looked into it like once, and then I kind of was like, this is super gay. And I swear it's something along the lines of Bill just said something offhand of yup, and then Timothy McVeigh came to my store or something one night after closing or something weird like that, and he was like, I got a microchip in my butt. And then later I was like, oh shit, that was Timothy McVeigh. And you're like, that sounds like an entirely made up story. Sure, maybe Bill Cooper did it, but it's kind of very much a trust me bro situation, is my understanding. I don't think there's anything other than Bill Cooper saying that, and I know a lot of people love Bill Cooper. And I think that, from the little bit I've looked into his work, I understand why people like a lot of his work, and there's some interesting things there, but you're one fucking silly goose if you go, well, Bill Cooper said, so therefore. Okay, well, I need some more than Bill Cooper said. Sorry. But yeah, there's other claims too. He did also make some claims about just different people here and there. I forget the specifics about that. Now, I think the specific butt one, I believe, does come from Cooper. I believe there were allusions to tooth. I'd have to break open Aberration to remember the specifics of those claims. But yeah, there definitely were claims of some sort of tracker or chip or something like that. A lot of it, I believe some of the more credible ones are probably circle around dental implants or something as opposed to the ass. But the Bill Cooper lore always points to the ass for some reason. I don't know. Maybe it was Bill Cooper projecting. I don't know. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Alien Cat. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. You guys talking about spirit cooking in there? That's nice. That's nice. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, OP Jeff. Did you hear that Trump was talking about Ted K and what a genius he was? You actually have that bookmarked. I didn't bring it up for this show, but I don't know, I thought that was an interesting little aside, although it's not that, I guess, super substantive. Yeah, he did say some interesting stuff about it, and I don't know if it's new information about the relationship that his uncle had to Ted K. Essentially, Trump kind of just was at some fucking nerd convention where I guess he's giving them damn near $1 trillion or some shit. I think some of that OpenAI stuff. He was pontificating a little bit on nerd shit, and he was talking about, how smart his uncle was, and then he was going on about how, Ted K was actually a student of his uncle, where you're like, oh shit, which, I guess if you're annoyed it out, you're kind of like, holy shit, but, I didn't know that his dad was some weird, or not dad, his uncle was some, because he's a guy, I think, who got a hold of the, Tesla stuff. I want to say that the lore there is supposedly that Trump's uncle got a hold of the Tesla stuff, lickety split right after Tesla died. I think that's the rumor. So, but anyways, I don't know the Ted K connection. That's interesting. I'd like to know more. I didn't know about that before, but it's interesting for sure. All right, let's get into, I'm going to make you guys wait a little bit for this Trump stuff. I'm sorry, but we're going to go through our foreign policy. I'll try to make it quick for you guys. We said Trump asked Zelensky if he could strike Moscow if the U.S. provided longer-range weapons. So it looking like we're still signaling more, stepping up this whole Russia stuff. I know we talked about yesterday. They're threatening. I believe they gave him a 50-day count that either get your shit together and pursue peace, or we're going to put on some crazy-ass tariffs. And then we also got some implications of maybe something could happen. We got all those talks of we're going to be doing these arms deals with the UN, I believe, and now we have him asking Zelensky, hey, what can you do? So this is from Dave DeCamp, which, by the way, do you guys want to, what do you guys think? Should I ask him to come on tomorrow? I was thinking I want to do an every other week thing, but man, with these Epstein stuff and everything going on, I could see it'd be fun to talk about more than just foreign policy as well. So you guys let me know. I'm debating whether to hit him up to see if I want to make this an every Thursday thing, maybe an every other. I don't want to abuse his time that he's offered, but And I know a lot of you guys really did like him on the show, and I thought he was a great guest. So, but either way, yeah, and I think it's interesting with all these Epstein stuff and how that kind of ties into foreign policy. So it kind of makes it interesting to weave all this stuff in and out, especially with Dave. But anyways, President Trump has encouraged Ukraine to step up strikes deep inside Russia and even asked Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky if his forces were capable of striking Moscow if the U.S. provided longer-range weapons, the Financial Times reported on Tuesday. Sources told the FT that the conversation occurred during a July 4th phone call. Vladimir, can you hit Moscow? Can you hit St. Petersburg too? Trump asked. Zelensky replied that his forces could absolutely strike the Russian cities if the U.S. provided the necessary weapons. The report said that Trump signaled backing for the idea of providing long-range weapons in order to make them Russians feel the pain. To pressure Moscow at the negotiating table. In comments to reporters, Trump later denied that he was considering providing Ukraine with long-range weapons and then said that Zelensky shouldn't target Moscow. The White House confirmed that the conversation about striking Moscow took place, but insisted Trump wasn't encouraging Ukrainian attacks inside Russia. A White House official told the BBC that Trump was merely asking a question, not encouraging further killing. He's working tirelessly to stop the killing and end this war. So to clear that up, just to get out the, this guy said talk, just to be clear, so the sources came out saying he said this. Trump goes, what he said is essentially saying, well, I didn't say he should target Moscow, which he technically didn't. If you see even what the sources are saying, he didn't say you should. He asked if he could, obviously probing, like kind of like, hey, what could you if I did this? Kind of exploring the options. But then so he goes, oh, I said I don't think he should target him, and then I'm not considering providing him long-range weapons. So it's like technically there's probably no real lie being had here, sort of. And then the White House confirms also that no, the conversation did actually happen, but like I said, that it's that Trump wasn't encouraging more attacks, and he was just asking questions. So these are just the sort of questions one asks, I guess. So the FT report said that U.S. officials have also provided Zelensky with a risk of potential long-range weapons the U.S. could supply. The Ukrainians have been asking for Tomahawk missiles, which have a range of over 1,000 miles, making them capable of hitting Moscow from Ukrainian territory. Also, the big thing is those things can carry nuclear warheads, although they're not likely to. They don't usually use them for nuclear, disbursement or whatever the fuck word I'm looking for here, distribution or whatever. But they still can be, so that is something to be concerned about. On the tariff side of things, we have Russia says Trump's threat to impose tariffs in 50 days is unacceptable. Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov on Tuesday rejected Trump's threat to impose a 100% tariff on Russia and its trading partners if the war in Ukraine doesn't come to an end within 50 days. Certainly, above all, we note that any attempt to put further demands or, moreover, ultimatums are unacceptable to us, Ryabkov said, according to Russia's TASS news agency. Trump made the threat on Monday when announcing a new plan to pour U.S. weapons into Ukraine by selling them to NATO countries. Ryabkov said that Russia prefers diplomacy, but that if it cannot reach its goals through negotiations, then the special military operations will go on. So Russia's main demands to end the war include Ukrainian neutrality and the recognition of the 4 oblasts, which those are like states, essentially, for those who aren't aware. Moscow annexed in 2022 as Russian territory, which would require a Ukrainian withdrawal from the territory it still controls in those areas. Ryabkov said that Moscow's stance is unshakable and the U.S. and NATO need to treat it with the utmost seriousness, which that's what they've been saying from the jump, so I don't know why anyone wouldn't believe them. All right, let's roll through the chat. It's been a minute. See what you guys got to say. Evan says, what is the times the show even start anymore? It starts when it starts. When I say 11 a.m., that's just roughly. It's when I try to warn you whenever it's we're going a little bit off schedule. But generally speaking, maybe 11. Most likely 11 a.m. So if I can't get in at that time, then I'll get in when I can. I have a life. It is what it is. All right. Oh, you guys are all saying Dave would be great. I agree. So I just don't want to abuse his time. It'd be every other weekend. See, he's great, but it's like every other kind of deal. See, Rootless, there you go. I don't want to use up too much of his time. All right. Jose's on Black Times as Mulgara. Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead and get into the next one. 88 Palestinians. I guess that's better. Less number go down a little bit. Although unfortunately, a bunch of kiddos today. In this one we have at least 6 people were killed, 29 wounded. We're trying to reach food over the last 24 hours. Where's the one I'm looking for? This one right here. There's an Israeli strike that killed 19 members of the same family, including 8 women and 6 children. So, yeah. Striking the tent in the same area killed a man, a woman, and their 2 children. So, I mean, there's a sad picture of a bunch of dead babies here. So, not great. Then we have, it looks like people, here's more signaling that things might be moving sort of, kind of, at least narratively speaking, in the positive direction. We've got an opinion piece in the New York Times says, "I'm a genocide scholar. I know it when I see it." Now, I'm not going to read this whole thing with you guys, but I find it interesting because this guy is literally, I believe he was born, I want to say he was born in Israel, and if he wasn't born in Israel, he lived in Israel for a long period of time. He's like the whole dual citizen thing. He was in the IDF. I mean, he's like the full like Zio, but his whole thing is he's a genocide scholar as well. Like that's his job, that's his thing, and which I guess it makes sense. It makes sense there would be a lot of Jewish people who would take up genocide scholar, go that role. I mean, let's be real. I wouldn't be surprised if it's somewhere in the realm of like 75% of them are Jews, and obviously we all have our jokes and this and that about Jews taking over things, but that's an area that makes sense. They would totally. I mean, given the whole Holocaust thing and stuff, it makes sense that they would have interest in wanting to go there. But despite all that, we have this genocide scholar. It's Dr. Bartov. He's a professor of Holocaust and genocide studies at Brown University. Despite all that, he's coming to the point that he's like, I can't be quiet anymore. He says, I know it when I see it, and this is a genocide. It's titled "Never Again." This is over at the New York Times, and I believe this is paywalled, so it's archived here, so you can find it over antiwar.com if you want that. And then we also have, despite that, we have, looks like Netanyahu's coalition will likely survive. I know we talked about yesterday about these factions breaking off, and I even said that I think it likely would survive, but here's just more. I have an article, maybe we can read a little bit of it to get more of a feel for the inside politics of Israel with these different factions and such. So let's go ahead and read this. It says, despite Monday's announcement by United Torah Judaism's ultra-Orthodox factions that they would leave the governing coalition, the government is not expected to fall over the crisis surrounding the IDF draft exemption bill. Since United Torah Judaism leader Yitzhak Goldknopf already quit the coalition on the eve of the Iranian strike, only 2 lawmakers represent his faction of the party, Agudat Yezriel, in the coalition. Meanwhile, the exit of the party's other faction, Degel HaTorah, subtracted another 4 seats. Thus, until Monday, the coalition had 67 members, leaving it with a narrow 61-member majority after the departure of both factions. Sorry, I just realized I missed a tab. We'll come back to that. But if fellow ultra-Orthodox party Shahs with its 11 lawmakers follow suit, the government will lose its majority and become a minority government. What happens now? The ultra-Orthodox parties could, in theory, join forces with the opposition to vote for the dissolution of the Knesset or topple the government through a constructive no-confidence vote, paving the way for an alternative government within the current Knesset. However, Likud officials view this as unlikely, believing the ultra-Orthodox factions have no real interest in dismantling the current coalition. So, okay, it seems like this is a component I didn't take into account yesterday because, for one, I'm still grappling with understanding the ins and outs of Israeli politics. So, but seems like I was kind of right. My understanding was this faction, these 2 groups breaking off of them, they essentially were creating. So this group no longer had as strong of a majority whenever it came to whatever given votes or this or that they go towards. But what I didn't take into account is that they could join other groups. But I mean, let's be real. I guess I didn't think about that component at all. But even still, I don't know. I didn't think that would be much. I don't know. I guess I don't know enough. So I just kind of assumed that's like, okay, I knew they still had a slim majority. So to me, that's all that really mattered. But I guess the idea is that if they then, grouped up with some other parties, that theoretically they could actually get some action done. Anyways, polls indicate that any government formed after new elections would likely be less favorable to their interests. Likud officials also believe the ultra-Orthodox parties fear an election campaign centered on the draft exemption issue, would intensify public opposition, making it even harder for any future government to pass legislation that their rabbis would approve. In other scenarios, the ultra-Orthodox party shift to the opposition while still providing the government with a safety net to prevent its collapse. They may even seek an opportunity to rejoin the coalition after the Knesset's summer recess, which begins at the end of the month, if a resolution to the draft exemption crisis is reached by then. If Shahs also quit the coalition, a scenario that, according to ultra-Orthodox officials, is likely to happen by Thursday, the ultra-Orthodox parties would effectively become kingmakers, able to trigger the dissolution of the Knesset at any point. Still, it's unclear whether they'd have any real interest in doing so. So that's interesting. They're saying that like they are in this unique position where this faction could really actually have essentially, like I said, kingmaker ability. Like they're able to trigger a dissolution at any point by joining up with other parties. So that's interesting. I mean, my understanding from the stances of these groups is that they're pretty with it, so far as like the plan of the Zionist plan. So I don't know if we really can rely on this group too much, because it seems theirs is more very specific religious specifications of why, hey, we can't have this, because I think this is with both groups, it has something to do with the specifics of military compulsion when it comes to their religious students particularly. So with Shah's resignation, the government would become a minority government, struggling to function and pass legislation. The departing factions could maintain or even escalate their voting boycott by cooperating with the opposition on key votes to block the government's agenda. This would give the ultra-Orthodox party significant leverage over Netanyahu, enabling them to extract sectoral concessions in exchange for backing key government bills despite the boycott. So this could actually maybe even be worse, depending on what the stances of this party is, because who knows? They could drive them to be worse. So, I mean, I'd almost be interested in maybe taking some time to look more into these groups. So Netanyahu is expected to stall the next 2 weeks to reach the Knesset summer recess without his government collapsing. Doing so would secure him an additional 3 months of relative calm, as the Knesset does not advance legislation during recess and lawmakers cannot vote to dissolve it or topple the government. The winter session, set to begin at the end of October, could well be the final one for Netanyahu's current government, given the expected changes in passing the budget by March 2026. And here's the piece I missed earlier that I should have gone over with you guys. Now, we covered this yesterday, the citizen who died over in the West Bank, and they gave the outrageous fucking response of, well, you'll have to talk to Israel about that one. Well, I guess, credit where credit is due. Mike Huckabee, of all people, said, fuck that. So good on him. I mean, to be fair, Mike Huckabee does strike me as like a true believer. So like, and I do really think he probably genuinely believe God calls him to support Israel, and he's just that fucking stupid. But with that, comes in a whole baked-in belief system, and the idea of a American citizen dying there too is also. I mean, yeah, it is kind of this probably creates some sort of weird cognitive dissonance, like kind of like breaks his programming a little bit. But even still, it's unacceptable for like an old dyed-in-the-wool red, white, and blue boomer like him to be like, oh yeah, we're just gonna kill American citizens in foreign countries. Like, no, I think he's very much like fuck that, despite the Israel thing. So it's kind of interesting that Mike Huckabee, I guess, seemingly gets to be the hero here. Although I say hero, there's a little bit of an asterisk here. So let's go through this. The administration of U.S. President Donald Trump has called on Israel to probe the killing of 20-year-old American citizen Saifullah Musallat, who was beaten to death by settlers in the occupied West Bank, calling the incident a terrorist act. Mike Huckabee, the U.S. ambassador to Israel, said on Tuesday that he asked Israel to aggressively investigate the killing of the Florida-born Musallat, who was visiting family when he was attacked in the Palestinian town of Sinjil. There must be accountability for this criminal and terrorist act, Huckabee wrote in a social media post. Saif was just 20 years old. Huckabee's strongly worded post marks a rare critical stance towards Israel by the U.S. envoy, a staunch Israel supporter who has previously said there's really no such thing as a Palestinian. But the U.S. ambassador's statement stops short of backing the Musallat's family demand for Washington to launch its own probe into the killing. So here's the thing. Critics say Israel rarely holds its settlers or soldiers accountable for abuses against Palestinians. Musallat was the 9th U.S. citizen to be killed by Israel since 2022. That's nuts. I didn't know that. None of the previous changes or cases has led to criminal charges. So anyways, the point being is he called for them to essentially, he calls for the Israeli government to essentially push to fix this issue. So we have right here, Here's actually the tweet from Huckabee. It says, I have asked Israel to aggressively investigate the murder of Saif Musalat, an American citizen who was visiting family in Sinjil when he was beaten to death. There must be accountability for this criminal and terrorist act. Saif was just 20 years old. So yeah, he's calling on Israel to do it, although the request here is U.S. So there's almost a little bit of a slick move here, I think, possibly, in that, like, well, you should be investigating this. Like, this is, like, I mean, obviously, be working with your partners over in Israel. That makes sense, but I think it's more on us to do an independent investigation than just say, well, let's take Israel's word for it. So, but either way, hey, just the fact that you even called it out. I mean, it was before this sitting at, I'll refer you to Israel. You're like, yeah, bitch, that's who just killed them. So, fuck you. All right, let's roll through the chat, see what you guys got to say, and then we'll get through some of the stuff. All right, let's see what you guys got to say. All right. Did I cover the strikes in Syria? Were strikes in Syria? Was there? I don't remember strikes in Syria. Let me see. The strikes in Syria. Oh, Syrian HTS forces kill civilians in Suwadia. Good call. You did ask about that. Yeah. I guess I'll share that real quick since you requested it. Hey, you want to know about what's going on with Syria? And maybe you're putting connected dots here. Syrian Defense Ministry has announced a ceasefire between Druze forces and Bedouin forces in and around the city of Suwadia, following Syrian security forces entering the city, aiming to bring an end to multiple days of fighting. So this is keep in mind, the Al Qaeda, formerly Al Qaeda controlled government. Right here. So today's report suggests around 200 people were killed overall in the fighting, which began Sunday with both sides clashing in the neighborhood of Makus. Both sides were accusing the other of engaging in kidnappings, and eventually the fighting escalated the city as well as the surrounding area. Though the ceasefire was declared, the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights has declared that clashes have continued and as many as 93 defense ministry forces are among the dead right now. So shit. Okay, this is... Oh, I did. Okay, yeah, I probably should have read this earlier. It's pretty... This is pretty... picking up. Suwadia is a Druze majority city, while Makuz is a Bedouin heavy neighborhood. Two sides have long lived side by side, though sometimes been tense. Syrian security forces were first sent to the area Sunday when the fighting started and have been accused in participating in fighting against the Druze and even carrying out summary executions of civilians. So this is what the government is being accused of here. So obviously, I know there seems like we have three factions going on here, so it's kind of hard to get to the crux of the who done it, but either way, not looking good and kind of business as we kind of predicted with Syria when you put in a warlord in what was already kind of a stable situation. So isn't that great, guys? But there you go, Romulus. Sorry, I actually probably should have covered that earlier. Genocide Scholar would be a pretty good username. That is actually a pretty solid username because there's kind of a double meaning to that. Scrolling through. Let's see what else you guys gotta say. Huckabee makes for a great slave to Zion, says Real John Doe 2, for sure. Huckabee's telling Israel to investigate themselves and nothing will come of it, says Mogera. Yeah, which I mean, while I did like sort of give him credit, I guess it's more because the alternative was like literally like a slap in the face of, yeah, we'll have Israel investigate it. You should not even a we're gonna call on Israel to investigate it. It's a I would refer you to Israel. Like someone's coming to them with, hey, my loved one was murdered in a foreign land, and you are our security force that we are stolen from every single year, every day. We are stolen from to provide for you. And I'm coming to you because one of the closest people in my life, my loved one, is dead in a foreign land. And the understanding here is it's incumbent on you. You've taken this role. You're shaking me down all the time for protection money. And so I come to you, one of the few times I probably ever will come to you ever as an entity. And then, I go, yeah, my child, my husband, my wife, my whatever is dead. And then you go, well, I would refer you to that other country. So yeah, I guess... So yeah, Huckabee's response is, I guess, an improvement because it's just astounding to me that there wasn't even the professional we'll get back to you or I'll route this up to my or anything. Just I'll refer you to Israel. Israel struck Syria. Where are you getting that, Mulgera? This was a. Oh, I'm retarded. What did I miss? Israel. Where did I miss? How did I miss Israel in there? I don't think I finished the article. Oh, Israel is in there. That's in the subheading of the. Let's go back to this. Or actually, we're still on it. So Israel. Oh, I missed that subheading, and I don't think I read far enough into the piece to catch that. I just kind of ended it. Where does Israel come in here? Okay. Further adding the challenge of this tension. Okay, good catch. Someone there. I was in a rush to get to the big news of the day that I missed this part. Further adding to the challenge of this tension in Suwaja is that Israel forbade Syria from having security forces there and actively carried out strikes against security forces as they approached Suwaja. So this is one of the areas that Israel said, you can't have anybody here. This is part of our buffer zone. And Syria did what they're supposed to do as a government and try to maintain peace. And so they come over there and Israel, okay, this is pretty wild. This is the ludicrous nature of the world that we're in. And keep in mind, Syria's kind of sort of their like little bitch puppet government too. Like this is so, I don't know, it's just so cucked. I mean, imagine being this cucked to Israel. Just wild. And then this is some head chopper fucking Al Qaeda guy, and he's just this little fucking. He's just Israel's little bitch. Man, they're gonna. I swear, his people are gonna end up fucking killing him. Like that's insane. I can't imagine being the head of a terrorist organization like that and being. It's like very anti-Israel and just being. I mean, I think the thing with his group is they're more anti-Iran, but still, I don't know. You just think that one of these days, one of his people is just gonna, get him. So I don't know. That's wild. All right. So this has been an ongoing problem. Israel's declared the whole south of Syria no-go for Syria's military attacks when they violate that demand. Though the HTS has largely not reacted beyond some international complaints, the foreign ministry has asserted the right to defend ourselves from Israeli aggression. This could potentially complicate Israel-Syria normalization talks, which were already rather complicated given the ongoing Israeli invasion of the Southwest. And obviously the larger context here too is Israel is one of the nations they've already kind of been gloating about of like with all these normalization talks and this and that. The implication here is here's another nation for Abraham Accords, which for those who aren't aware, all the Abraham Accords are is going, as we're just toppling these nations and replacing them with these puppet governments, you come and go, hey. So wouldn't you like to get like billions of dollars? That'd be super cool, right? And you're like, yeah, that would be super cool. And they're like, well, what's the catch? Don't fuck with Israel. And they're like, man, that's a hard one. I mean, they're fucking cunts. They suck. They do everything shitty. And they're like, hey, no, you can't fuck with Israel. And they're like, pfft. All right. And it's just kind of this. I think it's more of like a negotiation thing. It's like, what's the number? And I think the idea for a lot of people, a lot of the Trumpers out there, is like, hey, Syria is gonna be one of the next ones. I don't know about that, but either way, it's kind of a win-win for them too, because even if they don't become one of the Abraham Accord nations, then they're likely, with a nation like this, they're going to be in discord anyways. So they're in no position to really mount any sort of, even an annoyance really for Israel. I guess they would be an annoyance in that they're not just completely bending over and doing everything they want, but even if they're chaos, that's still a W for Israel. So, man, it is just wild watching this shit go down, isn't it? All right, now let's go back to the chat, and then we'll get into the big news of the day. The idiot says, hey, nerds. Hey, idiot. So here we go. Yep. So, yeah, I missed the Israel thing, and now here we are at Israel. Scrolling through. All right. Let's go into this. All right. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of a catch-up. I know we talked about this on Already Dead last night, but I feel like I have to because literally within the past, I'd say 24 hours or so, I think we've gotten like something like 4-ish statements on the Epstein thing from Trump. So I think it's important to follow along with the specifics of this and that. So of like where he's at any given time. And I have this in a chronological order. So 2 of these I think are ones that we have covered. We covered last night, Already Dead. But going through this real quick again, so I'm not going to give a ton of commentary, so just bear with me.
On Epstein, the Attorney General briefed you on the DOJ and FBI review, the findings of that review. The Attorney General briefed you on that.
On what? On the
DOJ and FBI review.
On what subject?
On Epstein, of the review of the file. The Attorney General Campani briefed you on that.
Very quick briefing.
Did she tell you about the review? And specifically, did she tell you her name appeared in the file?
No, she's given us just a very quick briefing, and in terms of the credibility of the different things that they've seen, And I would say that, these files were made up by Comey. They were made up by Obama. They were made up by the Biden we went through years of that with the Russia hoax, with all of the different things that we had to go through. We've gone through years of it. But she's handled it very well, and it's going to be up to her. Whatever she thinks is credible, she should release, yeah.
All right, so made up. Now, I want to throw one thing in there. It's just funny. I guess I said I'm not going to do a ton of commentary. But as I've been saying throughout this, we have this, the sycophants, build this. It's been multiple times now. He said some shit, and then fervently, immediately, the sycophants start trying to spin it or find a way to build the off-ramp for the narrative to save face or the narrative for the cover-up or whatever. And every single time he comes in and just like some combination of like Leroy Jenkins and like Kool-Aid Man's it and just fucks it all up. And here is another example of that. But the what I want to get at with that last line right there is this is a level of pathetic, fucking pathetic that we are at. That they're hanging on every little word that he says to find something to go. It's not that bad. It's well, look at this W. And, if we interpret it this way. Listen to the thing that they all ran with. Let's see if I catch you the right spot.
We've gone through years of it, but she's handled it very well, and it's going to be up to her. Whatever she thinks is credible, she should release. Yeah.
Whatever she thinks is credible, she should release. This is the level of ridiculous of where they're like just scrambling, like, please God, give us something. Please let us run with that one line. That one line, all the fucking influencer types shared this video, and that was the one line, and then they go, and then it's like,
oh, here's my list of 10 things that I think that we could suggest to Pam Bondi, and maybe if you guys all retweet, we can show the people out there we just really want this to go, and Pam Bondi will see how justified.
Like that. Like as if this was an invitation from him that like, oh yeah, I want a fucking list from you guys. So you guys should really be bugging Pam and telling her all the things and be like, hey, this thing's legitimate. Yeah, because she's really displayed she really gives a fuck about that at all. All right, on to the next one. It's just pathetic. I don't know. Here's Alex Jones. I'm not going to watch Alex Jones. Maybe we'll come back to him depending on how we are on for time. But stop it. I already paused you. Now let's watch. Also, why does it keep coming? Just stop. All right, here we go. So here's the other one. Here's the second one from yesterday. We did cover this on Already Dead. By the way, we'll come back to this later. But the guy on Trump's left, all right, that's Howard Lutnick. That's going to be fucking important for those who aren't aware of that. Which is he's one of those characters I've heard of before, but I never really, for some reason, just never really put too much focus or connected all the dots or this and that, but I'm like, past like, I don't know, 48 hours or so, I'm like, holy shit, this Howard Lutnick fella. Anyways, we'll come back to this. Come back to that. Let's watch this. Now, this is where Trump's at. So the last one is, oh, it's all made up by the Dems. Now, here we go.
I know you've urged people to move on, but I'm curious, why do you think your supporters in particular have been so interested in the Epstein story and so upset about how it's been handled?
I don't understand it. Why they would be so interested. He's dead for a long time. He was never a big factor in terms of life. I don't understand what the interest or what the fascination is. I really don't. And the credible information...
Yeah, he doesn't even get it. He doesn't even get why you guys care. Why does everyone care? So we're waffling back and forth between it's fake, the Dems made it up. Why do you guys even care? We got so many other big things going on. Don't miss the forest for the child rape, like that sort of shit. So we're waffling back and forth between this, but let's keep going. Also, watch Lutnick.
Given, don't forget, we went through years of the Mueller witch hunt and all of the different things, the Steele dossier, which was all fake. All that information was fake. But I don't understand why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody. It's
child rape. That's why, Donnie.
Pretty boring stuff. It's sordid, but it's boring. And I don't understand why it keeps going. I think really only pretty bad people, including fake news, want to keep something like that going.
See? Look at Lutnick laughing. Only bad people, and very frankly, fake news, want to keep something going like this. So this is the Bad People Very Fake News Club. Welcome to it.
But credible information, let them give it. Anything that's credible, I would say let them have it.
All right. So that was the second one. Everything is credible, let me have it. Surprisingly, at least I didn't see many influencers running with that part of it. So at least I'll give them the tiniest bit of credit for that they didn't run with that cope of like, oh, anything these things is credible. I think maybe they get the idea at that point, like, man, this is getting ridiculous. All right, now we're caught up. Now we're not caught up, I guess. We're caught up until before today. Before that was yesterday. So now we are at the latest. Here we go. This is the latest from the Truth Social, from Trump over on Truth Social. It goes, the radical left, this is Democrats, have hit pay dirt again. Just like with the fake and fully discredited Steele dossier, the lying 51 intelligence agents, the laptop from hell, which the Dems swore had come from Russia. No, it came from Hunter Biden's bathroom. And even the Russia scam itself, a totally fake and made-up story used in order to hide crooked Hillary Clinton's big loss in the 2016 presidential election. These scams and hoaxes are all the Democrats are good at. It's all they have. They are no good at governing, no good at policy, and no good at picking winning candidates. Also, unlike Republicans, they stick together like glue. Their new scam is what we will forever call the Jeffrey Epstein hoax. And my past supporters have bought into this bullshit. Hook, line, and sinker. They haven't learned their lesson and probably never will, even after being conned by the lunatic left for 8 long years. I have had more success in 6 months than perhaps any president in our country's history. And all these people want to talk about with strong prodding by the fake news and the success-starved Dems is the Jeffrey Epstein hoax. Let these weaklings continue forward and do the Democrats' work. Don't even think about talking of our incredible and unprecedented success because I don't want their support anymore. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Make America great again. Now we're at, well, I don't even want your support. It's a scam. I don't even want you guys anymore. That's where we're at. All right, no real explanation. Just nope. This is just lying Democrat. There's no real nothing. Like there's nothing being presented here. Nothing is being presented. It's just trust the plan. Trust the plan. Trust the plan. There's nothing here but trust me, bro. There's no opposing argument to any of this. It's just it's bullshit. The left fucking contrived this. Take my word for it. Not good enough. Not good enough. And it's making this shit that I covered yesterday. You guys remember the fucking the dinners thing that we covered yesterday? Those weird little teen pageants meetings on private yachts where they would have hordes of young girls and then just Trump and some other businessmen people that were, I know, some sort of execs somehow roughly associated with these pageants. Just hanging out on these yachts. All these claims were that girls were supposedly plied to come down and dance with the older men, Trump being one of them. Allusions to them, going in their dressing rooms. Even claims from people that he helped set up parties for Jeffrey Epstein. These are things that we should be concerned about. And the more and more he acts like this, the more and more it should make people go, what in the fuck? Yeah. And then that's not even it. We're not done. I mean, there might even be more statements on this today. I have not watched this one yet, so I don't know what is this, but I guess now I don't know who this guy is next to him. It says host Bahrain's crown prince and prime minister. It says Bahrain. So, I mean, whatever, some nonsense country no one gives a shit about. This is them using his time with some meeting from Bahrain to ask him about this. So let's see what he says here.
I know you want to move past all this intrigue over the Epstein files, but I do want to ask you to clarify something you said this morning. You said this was all a hoax. Has your attorney general told you this was a hoax? What evidence have you seen?
No, it's not the attorney general. No, I know it's a hoax. It's started by Democrats. It's been run by the Democrats for 4 years. You had Christopher Wray and these characters and Comey before him. And it's a bad group. It started, actually, look at the Steele dossier that turned out to be a total hoax. The 51 agents, the so-called intelligence agents, it was a hoax. It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats. And some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net. and so they try and do the Democrats' work. The Democrats are good for nothing other than these hoaxes. They're bad for policy. They're bad for picking candidates that can get elected. Like in New York, we have a communist.
This is the same. This is literally low tier. Democrats are bad. Republicans are good. I'm telling you, the Democrats scam the whole Epstein thing. So trust me. Tell me there's anything more than that here.
He may get elected too, actually, but he'll destroy the city. No, it's I call
And
it.
even then some Madani bullshit, which, feel however you want about Madani. He's the only one who seems to give a shit about his actually where he was voted to serve as opposed to fucking Israel.
The Epstein hoax takes a lot of time and effort. Instead of talking about the great achievements we've had,
The child rape takes too much time and effort, guys.
gentleman yesterday, as you know, went on CNBC and he made the statement that Trump may go down as the greatest president of all in the United States.
Yeah, there's no way that floats. Not now.
And instead of talking about the things we've achieved, we've had tremendous achievement. They're wasting their time with a guy who obviously had some very serious problems, who died 3-4 years ago. I'd rather talk about the success we have with the economy, the best we've ever had, and all of the things we've done, including the Middle East. I mean, you see it. Instead, they want to talk about the Epstein hoax. And the sad part is it's people that are really doing the Democrats' work. They're stupid people. Yeah, go ahead.
Wow. All right. Yeah. Nothing. There's nothing new here. It seems every time now we're getting, it's waffling back and forth between why does anyone care about this? We have so many other things to worry about. Or hey, no one really cares. Or what was the other option? Or it's just made up by the Democrats. So now it's some combination of why does anyone care? This is made up by the Democrats anyways. I mean, don't pay attention to your lying eyes and ears, or recall any of the past of me and all these other people. Trump's the idea that anyone's this is legit. Trump's definitely said the opposite, on the campaign trail. I mean, yes, a lot of people have pointed out he's been pretty non-committal, and there's also statements about, I wish her well with Ghislaine and stuff, but he definitely, there were times even you made statements about, Clinton's going to have issues with this island, and this, he is not, the idea that this is just crazy and this is distraction. No, he was leaning into it. He was heavily leaning into it, if not straight up saying it. That before, that oh no, there's a conspiracy here, something's going on. There are people that might have issues with this later. And so he sold this to you guys, and now the idea is that, no, we're just supposed to move on from the child rape. I'm sorry, I don't know about you guys, but I'm not quite ready to move on from the child rape. So, yeah. All right, and I thought this was interesting. Someone shared this in my post from earlier, this post. And I think this is just grok. And it's they put a summary of allegations related to Donald Trump and sexual exploitations of minors. Thought this might be interesting. So obviously, bear in mind, this is just grok compiled, so this is by no means reliable. So this is Epstein ties. Trump socialized with Jeffrey Epstein in the late 1980s to early 2000s at New York and Palm Beach events. Flew in Epstein's plane at least once. Katie Johnson lawsuit alleged Trump raped her at 13 during 1994 Epstein parties in Manhattan. Case dismissed / withdrawn. Ex-post alleged assaults on minors, including a 12-year-old Maria, and unverified blackmail tapes. Miss Teen USA. As Miss Universe owner 1996 to 2015, Trump admitted in a 2005 Howard Stern interview to entering dressing rooms of contestants, including Miss Teen USA, while undressed. Sources claim minors were present. Andrea Lucchesi and an anonymous photographer alleged Trump engaged in sexual activities with girls, some as young as 14 at 1990s parties. Then Ivanka's modeling. Ivanka modeled via Elite Model Management, age 14, and Trump Model Management ex-post claim linked her to Epstein or John Casablancas for exploitation. Then we have this. We also have 2003 Howard Stern show. Trump called Ivanka one of the great beauties with the best body, noting she made a tremendous amount as a model. Creepy things to say. 2004 Howard Stern show. Trump agreed with Stern, calling Ivanka a piece of ass. I'm sorry. that's something that if we're doing an in-studio thing, and I mean, I don't know, I have a hard time finding a way that this is comedic and not incredibly raucous. If you said that about one of my daughters in some sort of in-person agreement, I'm probably jumping over whatever I'm sitting in front of to grab you. I'm sorry, you don't talk about my children that way. Like, I mean, I don't know, unless there's some weird outside comedic context or something like, but no, I can't, I struggle to imagine a context in which someone would say that about my children, in which I would not feel compelled to jump over the desk in front of me and rip your limbs off and beat you to death with them. So anyways, he described her as beautiful and voluptuous and confirmed she had no breast implants. All weird things to say about your daughter. 2006, The View. Trump's comment was cut off in the provided data, but he began discussing Ivanka in a similar context. So, I mean, I don't know. People always bring up these creepy comments. I'm not going to go through and litigate all these things to see the specifics here. But, yeah, creepy nonetheless. And then to those pictures, I actually took the time. I reposted this from yesterday because if you're looking at this, some of these things you can see I'm not very good with tech stuff, but I was able to put little black blotches over where there are sensitive stuff. This is Ivanka Trump we're looking at right here. And at least two of these photos, I had to take the time to blot out her nipples because, I don't know, I think this is debatably child porn. And I think, like, I don't know. I didn't want to put that out on YouTube. So I've covered those up with little things. You're welcome. It made me uncomfortable even that being there. I don't know if somehow this is allowable because like the one is like a mesh material, one's like a slipper. I don't know. I don't know how that's allowed. Creepy. I mean, maybe the one on the top, maybe she is like maybe an adult at that time or something. I don't know. She looks young. Either way, some of these photos are obviously from when she was a child, and it's very clear he was sexualized. This Casablanca guy too, also in these. I believe there's, I want to say like more than once he's been either accused, if not convicted, of child molesting. So, and then as I mentioned this whole Letnick thing before, let's come back to that. Let me see if I can find the tab for that real quick. I didn't have it in the right order. I meant to go through these things in a different way, but give me a second. I'll find the Letnick thing because I think that ties into kind of the point I'm driving home right here. Here is some posts. Someone says Patriots. I don't even know what the hell, or Patrick Psyop 4921 is the account here. It says Howard Lutnick, Trump's Jewish billionaire Secretary of Commerce, once lived next door to Jeffrey Epstein. 9 and 11 East 71st Street. Surely by luck, he was late to work on 9/11, where his company on the 101st floor was completely wiped out. 658 employees died. So one of the guys who got the call, let's be real, former Clinton, Chuck Schumer, and Kamala Harris supporter, he also takes credit for creating Doge at the Chabad headquarters. Which anyone who's done a little bit of delving, the Chabad are the tunnel Jews, dude. They're also the ones that are the weird messianic fucks that, like, I don't know enough about their ideology, but knowing what I know about messianic sex in Judaism, fucking creepy. Just saying. Also that they have the whole weird creepy tunnel thing, and then they have the Rebbe Lubavitch, who is like their messiah. These guys, a good portion of them think they're in the Messianic times, and there is historical precedence of Judaic groups, multiple ones who actually at one point were the majority of Jews, that think once we're in the Messianic times, the law inverts. And now what's good is bad, and what's bad's good. So, just saying, Messianic Judaism creeps me out a little bit. So, I don't know. Obviously, I have nothing to prove when it comes to the Lubavitchers, but also there is enough to be creepy. You know those videos or those pictures you see of people kissing the wall? Well, maybe just slightly less than that. All of your politicians are also going into New York, going to the Chabad headquarters and visiting, and I don't know if they kiss or what they do, but in some way, shape, or form, prostrating themselves before the corpse of who these Jews think is their Messiah. So this is yeah. So he figured out Doge at the Chabad headquarters. They're also well known as being like kind of gangsters when it comes to online stuff and like this sort of new age. So they're kind of when you think of tech Jews or whatever, like that's kind of Chabadish. He says the only cults that work are the ones people don't even know they're in. Trust the plan. And if I recall correctly, I think too also with Lutnick, I think there's something to do with a trust, which I think at one point he may have owned or something. Essentially, it seems like he was some component of the swapping over of estates in some shape or form from that Wexner estate that Epstein had. So I forget the specifics of that, but there's something to do with that too, where he plays into that, and then he's essentially Trump's money guy. So, what was Epstein? The money guy. That was I think people maybe sometimes, especially at the tippy top. Just saying. So let's watch this video. I thought this was interesting.
So I said I'm calling it Doge. And I registered the name Doge.
You said that.
Of course.
And were you familiar with Dogecoin?
Of course. It's Elon. I'm very familiar.
Okay,
so what happens is, in the Defense Production Act in World War II, in order to get all the great executives of America to help with production, they named everything after jazz singers or everything that of the people who were on the committee that it would make them laugh and smile.
Okay.
Right? So I picked Doge. So he would laugh and smile. And he said, get the F out of here. Like when I said, we're going to name it Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency, which I didn't think of. It was on the internet sort of floating around in June.
Yes.
Right? But I literally registered it, right? As the Department of Government Efficiency, like make it a real thing. So I said, All
right. Now that's the clip. Now you see here the person shared in their little clip. They have like a bunch of smashed together headlines. This New York Post, Clinton fundraiser held next door to Jeffrey Epstein's house. You see, it says Howard Lutnick or Cantor Fitzgerald, who bought the adjacent smaller townhouse owned by Victoria's Secret parent brands where Epstein previously lived. God, I can't zoom in because it's a video. That's annoying. He goes Howard Lutnick, the pro-Israel champion leading Trump's transition team. So you can see through here all the different connections to Clintons. Trump transition team co-chair warns prospective appointees must prove loyalty. Then you also hear the one about the 9/11. On the day of the attacks, he was delayed getting the office because he had taken his son to his first day of kindergarten. Then here we go, another Howard Lutnick, Trump's Commerce Secretary pick as Jewish billionaire, CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald. Says in the original story of Doge and its origin at the Lubavitcher Rebbe's Ohol. And how did that Doge work out for us? They're cutting everything down, right? Isn't that great? Isn't that great? All right. Let's what do you think? Well, let's see what do you guys do? I don't care what Alex Jones had to say. I was debating whether to play what Alex Jones has to say. Let's go over to Ben Shapiro and see what he has to say. I know we talked about this a little bit yesterday, the Mossad stuff, but Benny Boy had some more to chime up on this. I guess his proof that Epstein is not Mossad is because Naftali Bennett, like we talked about yesterday, said otherwise. Let's hear what Benny has to say. I just realized I don't even have the thing up. I'm retarded. Give me a minute. I'm sorry. I hope I didn't play any other videos before. I think I was thinking there was something up before for whatever I was talking about before, and there wasn't. I don't know. Whatever. Here you go. Here it is. Let's start over again. I think I fucked up and didn't play it. Let's do
thousands of hours of tape. There are, by the way, but they are child pornography. The reason the FBI is not releasing them is because those tapes do not include underage people with third parties on Epstein Island. That is not what the tapes are. Okay, I also have sources in the federal government who are covering this stuff and have seen the documents. Okay, those tapes are just child porn. That's all. That's what they are. That's why the FBI is not releasing them. Okay, as far as the Epstein list, what I have been told by my sources is that there is no Epstein list, that basically there's a black book of Jeffrey Epstein contacts. And the vast majority of those contacts are already out there publicly. That's why you know names like Prince Andrew or Alan Dershowitz or some of the names that have been mentioned here. Those contacts, there is no evidence, according to the DOJ and the FBI, and again, that's public. There's no evidence that any of those third parties were having girls trafficked to them. Here is Tucker then asserting that it was actually Mossad. Again, without evidence, not a shock. Of course, this is where Tucker was going. This has become the hot speculation on the internet, is without evidence. you say that Mossad was running Jeffrey Epstein. When I say without evidence, I mean without evidence. Naftali Bennett, the former Israeli prime minister, said, quote, as a former Israeli prime minister, with the Mossad having reported directly to me, I say to you with 100% certainty, the accusation that Jeffrey Epstein somehow worked for Israel or the Mossad running a blackmail ring is categorically and totally false. This accusation is a lie being peddled by prominent online personalities such as Tucker Carlson, pretending they know things they don't. And in fact, I followed up with the former prime minister, Naftali Bennett, and what he told me is that Mossad has not been active in the United States against the United States since the Jonathan Pollard scandal of 1987, when a U.S. Army contractor who's actually working for the Navy revealed classified information to the Israeli government. He was prosecuted by the United States government and ended up in prison for almost 30 years. And so Israel since then has not...
All right, here's the stupid game Benny's playing here. He's playing this game of you guys aren't, there's no evidence, and then he's playing fast and loose with evidence on his side of things. Because here's the thing. This is what a lot of people I see are doing, and by that, I guess not a lot. You know, the handful of fucking stumps. People will stump for Israel no matter what, like Benny. Now, what they're doing here is they're playing fast and loose with what one would consider evidence. So they are... essentially, anything that opposes their position, they will not allow that to be considered as evidence, and then anything on their side, even the most dubious or flimsiest of things, they will consider evidence. And the reason why is because, technically speaking, there's a little bit of like a spectrum, I think, that occurs here, and a little bit of almost like agreed upon thing when people have back and forth when we talk about evidence, where someone will sometimes say, you have no evidence. There is no evidence. No evidence. No evidence. Evidence. And technically speaking, I mean, okay, I guess maybe there are some scenarios in which there's zero evidence of a thing happening whatsoever. But evidence can mean a million things, and there are varying levels of credibility with which someone should take evidence. Now, there are things like circumstantial evidence. Now, that is super duper duper weak, admittedly, but obviously once it grows, it gets like, and within reason, it'll never be like foolproof. But circumstantial evidence can gather to a point where it becomes just unreasonable to not believe there's something occurring. And that's the thing here. What we are dealing with, I'll admittedly say, well, actually, not even. There's probably things out there that we could point to as maybe legitimate examples, depending on what specifically you're wanting. But for the most part, the vast majority of everything here is going to be things like circumstantial evidence. But by golly, if there is not a fucking Everest-sized mountain of such, and then you'll see, as I'm pointing out here, so if you consider such a thing, says he's doing this where he goes, but that's not evidence. That's not evidence. That's not evidence. That's not evidence. That's not evidence because that's not evidence. Because that's circumstantial. Like, well, that is circumstantial evidence. And so, but what you're doing here is, because some people will say, if you do bring up some tripe, some circumstantial evidence in a conversation, many people will say sometimes that's not evidence. And while that's technically not true, we will kind of accept that as what you mean, and maybe there isn't even like an acknowledgement here. There's not like this is a subconscious thing. It's what you mean is that's not strong evidence. Essentially, that's not evidence that I will even bother to interact with because it doesn't rise to the level of anything of any use. And so that's essentially what he's doing here. Whereas his evidence that doesn't play by that rule. He doesn't do the like, oh, we'll just behave as if it's not even evidence because it's of such a low level. Whereas he will bring in Naftali Bennett, the former prime minister, says so. And that's his counter evidence here. And so he is essentially basically sitting with a mountain of one of the largest mountains you've ever seen of circumstantial evidence sitting in front of him. And the other hand, he has influential and establishment figures that are saying there's nothing to see here. And he's using these people, their statements, people who have great incentives to say otherwise. And I will say this is technically evidence. But this is the sort of evidence that usually, when someone says in an argument, colloquially speaking, you would respond to, that's not evidence. Because, well, it technically is. It doesn't really rise to the level of what most people would even be willing to consider in the realm of evidence, even though it's technically evidence. So that is the rhetorical Jew game that is being played here. This word game mumbo jumbo of just we're twisting things around and framing things in however we would like. That is what is occurring here. But once you really break it down to its root, what we're looking at, it becomes more and more obvious how ludicrous it is. It literally stands up on nothing but the people that are being accused say otherwise. And this is a person I showed you yesterday. It literally is he was, I believe, some sort of, intel, which, let's be real, intel is your job is lying. And there's literally videos of him teaching people how to lie via Wikipedia. So he is a liar. He is paid to lie. That is what he does. You're telling me my proof is paid liars. That is what most people would not consider to be evidence. And then more to this evidence. Here's Sagar and Jetty. Here's a list of Israeli prime ministers linked to Epstein. He says Shimon Peres, who introduced Ehud Barak to Epstein. 2, Ehud Elmer, named as Epstein associate by USVI. Ehud Barak, connections too vast to paraphrase. And Netanyahu as well, who met with JP Morgan after apparent Epstein info, which we have which we have covered on this show. Here's one of these. This interview with 103 FM radio. Barak denied attending Epstein party and said he wasn't the only one on friendly terms with the tycoon. Said Donald Trump and Bill Clinton also knew Epstein, he said, adding that the one who would introduce Epstein to Barak was the late former Israeli President Shimon Peres, an almost universally revered figure in Israeli politics. Here's another one. Epstein connected JP Morgan exec to Netanyahu and Prince Andrew, which we covered those emails where he said, "Oh, thanks for hooking that up," essentially. And we have former Prime Minister Ehud Olmert mentioned as one of Jeffrey Epstein's associates in case documents. And then we don't even need to show more of the Barak ones. If they had extensive business dealings in the millions upon millions is where they were at. That's the kind of homies we're talking about. But all right, let's take a moment to go through the chat. It's been a minute since I checked in with y'all. I just jumped a lot on you guys' chest. See how you guys took it. Vanilla Gorilla saying Netanyahu's trial was adjourned after the attack in Syria. I'm sure that's a coincidence. Oh, yeah, for sure, buddy. Good morning, Tower Gang NPC. Someone said, Nevsky says, do you think that everything in the Epstein files are credible? No, I don't. Mogera says, Misfit Patriot is saying anyone who cares about the Epstein files woke right and a terrorist. I shit you not. Not too shocking from him, but still, yeah, I know it's wild. Jose, I love the new voice. Yeah, I just make the voices go up as I go, I guess. So, Nevsky says Massie's in the Epstein files. Perhaps. I don't know. Speaking of which, I actually, I wish I had remembered to hunt down, I don't know if I bookmarked it or what, but there was, I swear I'd bookmarked something about some sort of controlled op with Epstein stuff. So, I don't know. Or with Massie. So, not Epstein, but some sort of Massie controlled op thread that I wanted to show to you guys. PJR, Jose, I love the new high-pitched voice. I know you're a big fan of me. Donald J. Trump. Yeah, that would be wild. Scrolling through. Just another trust me, bro. We're the good team from Marnamac. Yup. Achievements from Hustlebones. Achievements like putting us trillions more in debt, providing precedent for further 2A infringements, covering up a child rape ring, illegally attacking Iran on behalf of Israel, etc., etc. Huge success. Hustlebones says, that's right, my daughter is one sexy slut. Yeah. Says, thank you, sir. I'm honored. Will your hot slut daughter be there with her big natties? Shabbat is not Messianic Jews. Messianic Jews believe in Jesus. Okay, well, now you're being a Jew, Nevsky. You're playing word games. I think you know what I mean when I say Messianic Jew. Okay. There's like a sort of actually here. Technically, Messianic Jews, I think, really apply to, I guess, anyone who believes in a Messiah of some sort or in a Messianic age or whatever. Does not necessarily have to be Jesus. So, technically speaking, Christianity is like the very same, is a Messianic Judaic religion, or is Messianic Judaism, essentially, in a certain sense, I guess you could say. But that's not what people usually... I don't know. There's different ways to mean. I know I've heard people refer themselves as Messianic Jews when they mean like someone who was a Jew who then became saved or whatever and believes in Jesus. But it also can mean sects of Judaism that believes that they are either in a Messianic age, like meaning that they're about to receive the Messiah, or they're expecting a Messiah, or the Messiah is already here, and there's something, or whatever. Because there are some people who believe Lubavitch was... or whatever the fuck, Schneerson's the guy's name, that he was like the Messiah or something, and there's people that think he's going to come back alive, or, reincarnate into somebody else, or, I don't know, there's a bunch of different weird understandings on it, but essentially that's, yes, technically, don't be that guy, Nevsky, don't be the actually guy, you know what I mean, but yeah, Messianic Jews also does apply as a label to people who are Jews that then become Christians, so... But yeah, anyways. So, Lutnick went to Chabad and kissed the bloody mattress. Yeah. Oh, by the way, PGR, I don't believe... Nevsky wasn't saying Chabad believes in Jesus. He was saying that, like, that a Messianic Jew is a Jew that believes in Jesus. So... But Lutnick is also one of the major donors of birthright trips designed to get young Jews to the Holy Land and for some kosher sex. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was part of Supergroup. So, like, Lutnick is one of these billionaire Jewish, like, mega donors, along with Wexner, who was his neighbor, who then gave that estate to Epstein, which was the biggest, residential, domicile in New York. Like, that's the degree, that's the pedigree we're dealing with. And this was just gifted to him, essentially, along with his entire life's everything by Wexner was given to Epstein. Okay. Someone's saying, no sound. Oh, God damn it. Was I playing a video earlier? Oh, no. Okay, I figured it out. That's the one I fucked up earlier, then fixed it. What the hell? Someone's outside my door right now. What the fuck are they dropping off? Oh, okay. All right. All right. Keep going. All right. Yeah. Here we go. Yeah. Doge found so much wasteful spending. I'm so glad they just gave it all to the military industrial complex so Israel can bomb kids. Does Ben Shapiro have an actual audience who believes anything his snake says? Yeah, I know, right? I don't know. I mean, I think it is contrived. It's kind of like what I showed you guys the other day with Josh Hammer. Someone who has 150,000 followers plus followers on Twitter has been like in all the major shows and like Rubin Report. I mean, everything up until probably not. I don't think he's probably been on Rogan, but like aside from like the huge clothes, but he's been on like the biggest shows and been like the guy who's like in studio. Like that is like what he does. He's a Newsweek editor, and despite that, if you look at the metrics, it's very clear. Like, I mean, I'm sure maybe we could get down to like, because obviously I can't see his specific downloads, but just judging even just by, I mean, he's been podcasting as long as me too. So it's not even like this is a new show or something. No, my show blows him the fuck out. Probably almost 2X's him. And it's not at all to like suck this show's dick and say this show's like, huge or anything. It's not a huge show. It's a mid-sized show. I mean, go tell your friends, let's make it bigger. And so the fact that I'm BTFOing a fucking Newsweek editor that has at least if we're to assume it's organic, which I don't think it is, has in the realm of 15 times the Twitter audience that I do. So the social media audience goes on all the biggest. So he has so much more, probably 10 to, I'd say probably 30 to 100 times the exposure I've had. If not even more, probably actually over 100 times the exposure I've had. And despite all that, I somehow end up like probably 2Xing. like people actually want to listen to what he has to say. Like I don't think I'm any genius or I'm any, eloquent or anything or even really all that entertaining. And despite all of that, there's like probably about twice as many of you guys who value what I have to say as opposed to that fucking cunt. So I think there's probably a similar dynamic going on with Ben Shapiro, and they're just hiding behind the numbers. So, Dad's catching up on Already Dead? Hell yeah, dude. They conflate evidence with proof, says Mulgera. Exactly. So, there's tons of evidence. Exactly. Yeah, so people are so stupid. Trump literally just used a lie of false negotiations, set up a legal attack on Iran with no evidence, yet these tards believe him. Romulus, Sam Tripoli saying Massie was in some weird club. That may be what you're referring to. Yeah, that's what I'm referring to. There was like some, there was some thread or something that I was going to look into that to see what the hell he's talking about. So maybe we'll come back to that later. Someone says my high-pitched voice sounds like Steve Carell when he gets his voice pinched by Red Jim Carrey. I'm Bruce Almighty. Josh, Daddy, give me that veiny throbbing hammer, says Hustle Bones. Yeah. The name of the club is De Malay. If that's the only thing Sammy was talking about, though, we've covered that on this show, and that is weird, but I don't know. I mean, you can't help it if his parents made him to go to some weird-ass glowy club. So Tony Chin says, funny how Clinton or Obama haven't said a word about Trump's blunder. Wonder why. Oh, for sure. Yeah, they were eating children. That's probably why. All right, let's get into the latest on what's going on with, I don't know, are they going to do anything about this? So here's Liam McCollum, says, keep track of all U.S. representatives who vote against releasing the Epstein files. Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna explicitly exempting from release any abuse material and information from the outs victims. There are no excuses this time, because I remember we had, yesterday, I showed you the Tim Pool tweet, and he was like, oh, they're trying to show us kid pussy. And you're like, okay. What a weird takeaway. I still don't really know how to wrap it was like, are you genuinely concerned that like Congress was going to pass this or whatever? And then they go, oh shit, now we got to publish child porn. Like there's no one anywhere that was going to go, whoa, we should probably make some sort of this, that, or, I mean, I don't know. I didn't even read the specifics of the bill. Just that it wasn't even a thing that crossed my mind that Congress was ever going to be like, well, we fucking voted on it. I guess we could release child porn. If you read the letter of the words we signed here. Guess we're gonna show child porn. That never crossed my mind. So I don't know. It still confounds me that was even a take that someone would have. But okay. But anyways, here we are. Here's Massie saying we all deserve to know what's in the Epstein files, who's implicated, and how deep this corruption goes. It says Americans were promised justice and transparency. We're introducing a discharge petition to force a vote in the U.S. representatives on releasing the complete files. Now, here's the resolution. Let's actually read this one so that way no one can go, oh, this or that. So here's providing for consideration of the bill, H.R. 185, to advance responsible policies. Resolved that immediately upon adoption of this resolution, the House shall proceed to the consideration of the House of the bill to advance responsible policies. All points of order against consideration of the bill are waived. The amendment in the nature of a substitute specified in Section 4 of this resolution shall be considered as adopted. The bill as amended shall be considered as read. All right, I'm gonna skim through that shit. None of that stuff matters. It's all just fucking nerd, fucking faggot, bureaucratic talk. Clerk shall transmit a passage. All right, let's get to the next one. See if we get past all this bureaucratic nonsense. All right, here we get into some body. Here we go. All right, blah, 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 blah. Section 1, short title, Act may be cited as the Epstein Files Transparency Act. Section 2, release of documents relating to Jeffrey Epstein in general. Not later than 30 days after the date of enactment of this act, the Attorney General shall, subject to subsection B, make publicly available in a searchable and downloadable format all unclassified records, documents, communications, and investigative materials in the possession of the DOJ, including the FBI and U.S. Attorney's Office that relate to Jeffrey Epstein, including all investigations, prosecutions, or custodial matters. 2, Ghislaine Maxwell. 3, flight logs or travel records, including but not limited to manifests, itineraries, pilot records, or in customs or immigration documentation for any aircraft, vessel, or vehicle owned, operated, or used by Jeffrey Epstein or any related entity. 4, individuals, including government officials, named or referenced in connection with Epstein's criminal activities, civil settlements, immunity or plea agreements, or investigatory proceedings. 5, entities with known or alleged ties to Epstein's traffic or financial networks. 6, any immunity deals, non-prosecution agreements, plea bargains, or sealed settlements involving Epstein or his associates. 7, internal DOJ communications, including emails, memos, meeting notes concerning decisions to charge, not charge, investigate, or decline to investigate Epstein or his associates. 8, all communications, memoranda, directives, logs, or metadata concerning destruction, deletion, alteration, misplacement, or concealment of documents, recordings, or electronic data related to Epstein, his associates, his detention and death, or any investigative files. 9, documentation of Epstein's detention or death, including incident reports, witness interviews, medical examiner files, autopsy reports, and written records detailing the circumstances and causes of death. 6, prohibited grounds for withholding. No record shall be withheld, delayed, or redacted on the basis of any of the following. 1, embarrassment, reputational harm, or political sensitivity, including to any government official, public figure, or foreign dignitary. C, permitted withholdings. 1, the Attorney General may withhold or redact the segregable portions of records that A, contain personally identifiable information of victims or victims' personal and medical files and similar files, the disclosure of which would constitute a clearly unwarranted invasion of personal privacy. B, depicts or contains child sexual abuse materials as defined under blah, blah, blah. C, would jeopardize an active federal investigation or ongoing prosecution, provided that such withholding is narrowly tailored and temporary. Yeah, because that one's a big one. They could easily get away with a lot with that one. D, depicts or contains images of death, physical abuse, or injury of any person. E, contain information specifically authorized under criteria established by an executive order to be kept secret in the interest of national defense or foreign policy and are in fact properly classified pursuant to such executive order. That one's interesting. It's like, why did you even put that in there? Because you would think an executive order would just be overridden anyways. So it's like, we're just making it so they're making it even easier legally if they do. It's like, are we going to see an executive order from Trump here? I don't know. We'll see. 2, all redactions must be accompanied by a written justification published in the Federal Register and submitted to Congress. 3, to the extent that any covered information would otherwise be redacted or withheld as classified information under the section, the Attorney General shall declassify that classified information to the maximum extent possible. Goes A, if the Attorney General makes a determination that covered information may not be declassified and made available in a manner that protects the national security of the U.S., including methods or sources related to national security, the Attorney General shall release an unclassified summary for each of the redacted or withheld classified information. 4, all decisions to classify any covered information after July 1st, 2025 shall be published in the Federal Register and submitted to Congress, including the date of classification, the identity of the classifying authority, and an unclassified summary of the justification. So then report to Congress. Okay, blah, blah. All right, some more bureaucratic nonsense. So here we go. And then Thomas says also, discharge petition is a procedural tool for bypassing leadership. In 7 days, we can start collecting signatures. At 218 signatures, the House must vote on our bill requiring a full release of the Epstein files. If your representative won't sign the discharge position, ask why. Now, I'm not one to really get hope up in government, but I guess if there is anyone to do, I mean, I don't know. I mean, whatever. Is it really that bad to bug your fucking local politician and be like, hey, dude, are you a pedophile? Do you like pedophiles? All right, well then, like, do you have any reason why you wouldn't want to push this through? You don't want to? You really sound like a pedophile right now. I mean, just really hammer him on the whole pedo thing. I mean, it's not a situation most men like to be in, so utilize that. So if you're going to, but hey, this is a thing out there. Then on the whole Massie back and forth between Trump, here's Trump taking some time to take some shots on Massie again, which is interesting given all this Epstein stuff going on. And then he throws out an implication as if there's some sort of lore that we're not aware of somebody. I feel like it's implied he means Massie, but he might also mean Rand Paul here. So let's go ahead and watch this.
With us, we only had 2 negative votes. I didn't invite those 2 guys to anything. We had a guy named Rand Paul Jr. He's known as Rand Paul Jr. in the House. He always votes no. We had somebody else. I did him a big favor, and I said, well, he's not going to, sir, I don't think so-and-so is going to vote. I won't mention his name. And I said, no, he's going to vote because I did him a very big favor, very personal favor, as big as you can get, having to do with death and life. But having to do, no, he's going to vote. Don't worry about it. Okay, sir, if you tell me, but I don't think we're going to get his vote. Don't worry about it, I said. I know what I'm talking about. Don't worry about it. And sure as hell, he voted against us. And I said another one down, another great move by Trump. Anyway, so much for favors. You know, it's welcome to the world of politics, right? Right, David? We know.
Yeah, this one's weird. Don't know what to make of this one. Did a big favor having to do with death and life. I genuinely have no fucking idea what that means. Like, obviously, the anointed part of me is like, are you implying Massie here? Are you saying, is this something to do with his wife? Like, what does this mean? Like, and I'm not gonna lie, my head goes to an even darker place where it's almost like that seems like some sort of sinister wink, wink, fuck you. You know, keep in mind your fucking role here or something. I mean, I don't know. I know that's obviously that leans heavily into the conspiratorial thinking, but what the fuck does that mean? I don't know. I really do want like someone, whether it's Rand Paul or Massie or somebody like, oh yeah, here's what he's talking about. It wasn't that big of a deal. Cause like, what kind of, I don't know, just, I mean, I guess there's no like compulsion to explain yourself here because I mean, it's not like this is the Epstein files or something. But what? Okay, all right. I don't know what to make of that. That's weird. I mean, it feels like almost some sort of like mob shakedown shit. Like here we have Massie being the guy, being the major opposing figure, also pushing against the Israel stuff, all the Epstein stuff, and then here we go. I did him a big favor, had to do with death in life, and then like obviously we all remember a major thing that happened in Massie's life recently. So you're like, what the fuck is going? I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's a million. This could mean something else entirely, but that's weird. That's weird. Really have nothing else to say about that other than it's weird. More on the Epstein stuff. Ghislaine Maxwell's family wrote a letter to the Supreme Court appealing her conviction on the grounds her trial was unfair in light of the recent actions of the government. So here is the family statement. It says, our sister Ghislaine did not receive a fair trial. Her legal team continues to fight her case in the courts and will file its reply in short order to the government's opposition in the U.S. Supreme Court. If necessary, in due course, they will also file a writ of habeas corpus in the U.S. District Court, SDNY. This allows her to challenge her imprisonment on the basis of new evidence, such as government misconduct, that would have likely changed the trial's outcome. Following the government's response, David Oscar Marcus, counsel of record for her sister in a petition in the United States Supreme Court, had this comment. I'd be surprised if President Trump knew his lawyers were asking the Supreme Court to let the government break a deal. He's the ultimate deal maker, and I'm sure he'd agree that when the U.S. gives its word, it should keep it. With all the talk about who's being prosecuted and who isn't, it's especially unfair that Ghislaine Maxwell remains in prison based on a promise the U.S. government made and broke. There are sentiments with which we profoundly concur. Now, the promise which the government made and broke, for those who aren't aware, I don't think I've covered this before, but what he's referring to, I think we did mention it like a little bit. We didn't really deep dive into the specific deal. I do have a bookmark. Maybe we will one of these days dig into the specifics of that. I think it was 2016 or something deal. But in that deal, it was the lawyers, they interpreted it as, I'd have to look at the specifics, that the deal applied to him and his associates. So Ghislaine should have, so their argument here is that sweetheart deal you gave, I should have been under it as well, but for some weird reason, she didn't. So I don't know the specifics, if it's procedural or something, or if, who knows, maybe the Trump administration had enough sense to be like, we need to keep, this might come back to haunt us. We need to keep a card in our back pocket, something we have leverage over. I don't know, because, left in a position of like, hey, you're just a pardon away, and all this stuff is sealed. All the stuff from that court thing is sealed, so we will never really know any of that. And they claim they made no deal with the federal government, yet they sealed all that shit. So I don't know. I have my doubts. I'm concerned here, but interesting that she's pushing for that appeal. There's more on that. I just find it interesting that I don't know. I'm genuinely concerned we could see her maybe not even get an appeal, if not get a pardon or a commutation, because that's apparently there have been reports. I forget from where, but obviously I think it's more of these like sources say stuff, because I don't think there's anything technically on the record, because it'd be crazy to say on the record. But there were a lot of these sources that were saying that there were rumors that Trump was considering at one point. I forget what point the time this was considering pardoning Ghislaine. I don't know if maybe someone in his people were like, you can't do that. So he didn't, but that's something that supposedly was being pushed around. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see it again, especially considering I didn't do nothing. Then you're saying I didn't do nothing, so you should let me leave. And on that note, we have more people coming out. We have Kevin Spacey saying release the Epstein files, all of them. Those of us with nothing to fear, the truth can't come soon enough. Hate to make this about me, but the media already has. Which I don't know what to make of that one. Who knows? Maybe Kevin Spacey, once more information comes out, it will be like, oh shit, wow, this really was they did take it all out of context. But with all this stuff hidden behind the veil, how the fuck were we supposed to know? So I don't know. I have a hard time believing that. I never got too sucked into the Kevin Spacey story. So who knows? Maybe he's just a fruitcake that likes dudes, and then the powers that be knew this and managed to manipulate it. And I don't know. Maybe he's a hapless victim more than he is a monster. But I have no idea. But it's just interesting to see these people that you would think would be implicated saying to release them. So there's like two things to this. There's this idea of like, well, they know nothing's going to happen, so they're just signaling hard. Because let's be real, like I think one of the takeaways to get from this like repeated like what we're at like quintupling down is the only thing that really makes sense at this point is this is a signal to everybody that like, hey, you're good. You are so fucking good. Like, you are beyond good. We've got your back. We'd never fuck over one of our people. Like, if you're with this company, you're family. You know, like one of those things. Like, and he really went into it. He's like, I'll fucking murder anyone before I fucking sell you out. So I don't know. I think there might be maybe message received. Maybe all these people that everybody goes, oh, look at this fucking guy. Can you believe him saying he released the Epstein files? And it's like, well, I mean, this has a two-pronged effect. It kind of in the public, it may wash them of any perception of anything wrong. Also, on top of that, from the people, if you see all of the people that we thought were in the list out there going, I want nothing more than transparency so we can come out and you guys can learn the real truth. What's that real truth? Oh, this is all blown out of proportion, and like Elaine's just like, she's just some poor lady who just happened to be her. She found out at a horrible late age that her boyfriend of decades was just a horrible child predator, or some craziness like that. Like that'll be. So I don't know. I could see this easily being without even ever a word being said, said between the two of them of like, hey, you're good for this next part of the plan. Hey, you're good for that next part of the plan. There never even was even needing to be an acknowledgement of plans. Just hey, this is an extremely strong signal that they are never, ever, ever going to screw us over, especially if you're someone on those lists and you're like, look at him just tanking all of his credibility, destroying his base, everything. I don't know how you could get any stronger of a signal other than this guy doesn't give a fuck. Like, he has got our back. And so what better time than to just go, yeah, release them shits. Like, let them all out. Ain't nothing on there that I have to worry about. And while also still sort of angling it as like we need to help the victims or whatever, like I have nothing to fear. So there's like this still like this vague implication of like, I want to help the victims, even though like, let's be real. I think the end game here is to try to mitigate, kind of downplay this as if it was nothing when it's all said and done. And then more on the Epstein stuff. Remember how we talked about the whole minute that disappeared? All right, well now it's 2 minutes 53. Which I do want to address once again. I keep hearing people going like, oh, well, now we have 2 minutes and 53 seconds. So like, now they totally could have murdered him and done all this stuff and done that. Like, technically speaking, nothing's changed. I want to be very clear. They still could have, under the minute removed before, probably could have done it with no time removed. They could have murdered the guy. The angle of this camera shows... Like, I'm not going to bring it up, but you guys, if you're looking at the screen right now, you can see this, like the tiniest little sliver of the stairwell that leads into the bay of Jeffrey Epstein's cell. So, and I think the claim, I think, is essentially that someone would need to cross through this area to come in and out, because theoretically there's the only ingress-egress point essentially there. Whereas I've heard claims that, you're judging by the movements of the people there, that some people think that's not true, and there are other ways in and out. So this all could just be a smoke screen of like, look here, nothing here. Meanwhile, off screen, you have them getting fucking someone coming in through another entrance, murdering the guy, fucking doing whatever they gotta do, going off. All the while you're just staring here like an idiot, looking at this thing, nothing going on. But so point being is whether there was a minute gone, 2 minutes 53. They were already from the jump. This video is kind of pointless, but it's just kind of more and more just showing how fucking stupid this all is. That now it's not even just a minute that they're showing that's 2 minutes 53 seconds were cut. There was like it's stitched together. I mean, I'm not gonna go into the ins and outs, all the nerd shit they did, but apparently it's super duper obvious. I mean, all you nerds can chime off in the chat to agree with me if there's anything of significance worth bringing up there. But just here we go. I mean, I don't know. It's once again, it comes back to, I don't even know how you fumble so hard. As I brought up, everyone, the conspiracy theorists all thought that we were going to get with Ehud Barak's Boca, his like a high thing, and fucking re-stitch this all together and make it so no one could ever know the difference, because supposedly that's what it touted to be able to do. And then we get like a step above MS Paint. So is my understanding from a tech perspective, is what everyone's told me. So, and there's even more than that. So, yeah, once again, because everyone, when it was just a minute, then everyone's going like, oh, I don't think they could murder him in a minute. You didn't need to murder him in a minute. All you would need that minute, and you got to keep in mind, I think it was like an 8-hour stretch they put, and so there's only two stretches of time theoretically. This is even assuming this is the only way in and out. There's only 2 periods of time that anyone would need to go through as they walk by and as they walk back, both of which would probably not take more than a combined 20 seconds. I can't imagine someone even in the most casually slow walking across this area that we see here, how that would take up more than 10 seconds for each and then 20 seconds combined. And even then, on top of that, you would only need to catch one of those because this is a 8-hour stretch of window, or stretch of video. So, and it's supposedly like right smack in the middle of when he died. So theoretically, would have to have caught them at least going in and out, in or out. But there also could have been the in or the out that were on the either side of like the 8-hour thing. So, yeah, this is from the jump. Like, even then, all that's assuming that's the only way in and out. So. I mean, they might try to say, oh, well, you can see the stairwell, but like if there was another way in or out there, then you could just jump. There's like a railing. You could just jump it. Or you could even just like hug the railing on the other side and no one would be able to see you. Just going to walk up it sideways, like no one will be able to see you. So it's nonsense. But even still, despite all that, for some reason they had some need to cut up and move around and this and that, almost 3 minutes worth. Why? I don't know. I mean, once again, I come back to it could have literally been a red herring. All of this video stuff could just be to take us off the fucking, have us focus on the stupid video thing. That could be all that it is. I have no idea. All right, let's go through the chat, and then I think we're going to do one more story, and then we'll get out of here. So let's see what I'm going to say. Lauren says, Dave Millay took down videos of hypnotizing kids on their little Masonic Templar getaways. I did not know that. That's fucking wild. If someone can find that, it's on their YouTube. If someone can find like a old version of that, that'd be crazy. I'd totally play that in the show. It also says, I know Jose has beef with him, but I'm going to keep saying people need to look at Ryan Dawson's work. I agree. People should check out Ryan Dawson's work. I've never said anything bad about his work. He does got good work from what I've seen, everything I've seen. Our whole government is pedo simps. It's disgusting. This is Marnamac, 100%. 100% alluded to Massie's wife death as chemical general. I mean, maybe. I don't know. I mean, that seems too far. I mean, that seems too crazy, but perhaps. Let me see. See what else you guys got to say. Man, you guys are arguing in there. Arguing about God. That's always fun. That's always fun when arguing about God in the chat. Uncle C says lies. You said no show today. I did lie to you. We are here today. We're doing it. Marty Mack says, who were the inmates that were in that cell block? Like Tucker said, we should know the names of all the people that are being detained in that area. Yeah, it's my understanding they've like somehow, like we've never found out any of those people. So that would be a big thing. Also says the fact they didn't cover the tracks, either gross incompetence or part of the op. Yeah, it seems too over the top to not be not be part of it, but I don't know. Mulgara says, you see that Tucker Carlson is going to be on with Epstein or Tucker again tomorrow night talking about Epstein? Sure did. Hell yeah. I'm looking forward to it. That should be good. All right. Let me see. Did y'all cover Israel striking Syria? We did at the beginning in the very end of the foreign policy stuff. If you want to go back and check that out. Mulgara says Trump released an attack ad on Massie on the 1-year anniversary of his wife's death. Holy shit. I didn't know that. He was absolutely referring to Massie here. I mean, if he's referring to Massie and if he's referring to the wife, like, okay, sure, maybe there was something that Trump, I guess, to steel man him, I guess, maybe there was something that Massie reached out to him that he could somehow help, whether that was maybe, I mean, I don't know if we've ever even found out what the hell happened to his wife, but let's say he reached out to Trump for some sort of, I don't know, access to certain doctors or what have you. I don't know. Like, hey, Trump, anything you could help with or money or I don't know. I could totally see someone coming to that for the sake of your dying wife. So, I mean, I don't know the specifics of how the fuck she died. So, I don't know. That's the only way. Otherwise, it's like, that does kind of read like some weird, creepy mob shit, like wink, wink, like nudge, like, kind of like the moment in the movie where like everything starts flashing. You're like, oh my God, it was him the whole time. Like one of those type things. That's almost what it feels like. Like he's like kind of winking at you and telling you. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just noiding. So Hustle says Massie said there's nothing fishy with his wife's death, he says. So I don't know. I mean, there might not have been nothing. I mean, but I haven't heard anything about it. So not that it's really To be fair, not that it's there's any responsibility on him to tell everyone in the world how his wife died, but when I have have Trump saying weird, cryptic stuff like that, it makes me wonder what the hell is going on. And on that, guys, we're going to go into the last story of the day. We're going to roll through this program to kill Dutroux combo piece we're doing here. So we're on to part 2. So if you guys missed it, I'm sorry. We're on the Who Done It. And then we're going to go on and get out of here after that. This is from my buddy over at IRC_NIC on Twitter. His name's IRCNIC, and also IRCNIC.substack.com is where his Substack is. We're on his second part. We're on the whodunit of serial murder in Belgium, the Butcher. This is if the cops are to blame for not conducting a proper investigation, whatever their excuses may be, they effectively did not have any proper crime scene to investigate, and the modus operandi of the killer was quite unique. The phenomenon of serial killers was something that also had not quite made its way to Europe yet, especially in Belgium, and in this form as well. It's fair to say that judiciary police were not equipped to deal with one. One of the first suspects was the boyfriend of Natalie Goddard, Leopold Bogert. Nicknamed the Gypsy by friends and family, he lived a drifter life in a camp near Gemep-sur-Sambre. He had recently gone to a fight with Natalie. Some of his clothes had bloodstains. He was arrested in April of 1997 after the discovery of her body, but was almost immediately released on a lack of evidence. In 1998, the Belgian police would turn to the American FBI for help. They wanted to make a profile for the Butcher. The FBI turned up on the site in Belgium and went to work. So the FBI showed up here. All right. You can see a photo of the FBI in Belgium helping them with this. Here's an article written by Paris Match Belgique. Evokes the profile of the Butcher as established by the FBI. This is a man who lived alone in the Mons area, a regular at the train station district, and the different establishments frequented by the victims, Les Métropoles, but without being part of the microcosm himself. He knew the women he targeted and did so because of their fragility and social isolation. He gained their trust, and so they naturally followed him. He did it for sexual reasons. Death was just part of the process to get rid of them after abusing them. The man has no skill in cutting up the bodies. He's no butcher or surgeon. He cuts up his victims like any random person would. There's no ritualistic aspect to the dismemberment. It is purely practical and just an easier way for him to get rid of the body, trying to erase recognizable aspects like tattoos, etc. In his modus operandi, it appears he has access to a vehicle in a secure place which allows him to use his victims as he pleases and then to kill them and cut them up without the fear of being found out. He kills them by suffocating them or strangling them and then uses a metal saw to cut them up. He then gets rid of the body in what we call his comfort zone, places near Mons he's familiar with, near where he lives. The areas of dumping kept getting further away because the previous ones had been found out. The toponymy of the dumping grounds is just a coincidence. There's no enigma behind it. The fact he put the body parts in trash bags and the way he wrapped them reveals a will to be professional or experienced in that domain. His personality is that of a cold, calculating man, an obsessive maniac who masters his own feelings. His IQ would be above the average. He works full-time, but with free time during the weekend to track his victims. He has a very complicated history with women, but no record of violence. His life is a succession of romantic failures. Here's the composite sketches based on testimonies. So there you go, 2 of them. So they look kind of different. The FBI labeled him a soft killer, meaning he's part of those serial killers who are supposedly capable of stopping their crime spree and going back to normal life after meeting someone they settle with, for example. When I think the profile the FBI established is interesting, or while I think, and probably close to the truth, if there's one thing we can learn from Program to Kill, it's that limiting yourself to a single established profile can heavily restrain your investigation, following patterns to try and fit a logical conclusion to cases that sometimes lack one. For example, the profile here leaves no room for a potential accomplice. Nor does it mention that even if not all the victims were prostitutes, the Mons Butcher's focus on lonely and isolated women might have had to do with the human trafficking. In a city 30 minutes away, a man named Marc Dutroux had just gone arrested for something similar. Granted, the Mons Butcher did not target kids, wasn't a pedophile, but perhaps inquiring in that area might have yielded results. What if he filmed himself dismembering his victims like Dutroux filmed himself abusing his? As for the occult, Monique Kang, the owner of the Metropole, had one interesting anecdote that indicated the investigators looked into that lead. Just talking about the type of people frequenting her bar and hotel. There were a few police officers, teachers, bar hoppers, and prostitutes. At the time, there were also a few mediums. Some held readings in the bar. It was a unique area. I still have strong appreciation for esotericism and other occult sciences. The police were also interested in the leads of mediums, clairvoyants, and members of Satanist circles. But despite the profile limiting the possibility of suspects, I think the case of the Belgian Judiciary Police, where they have to request foreign services to establish a profile for them in the first place, anything is of help, and it seems like they were on the tail of someone who could have been a match. All right, guys, I didn't manage my time too well today, so just one part of that today, and we'll continue on with this tomorrow. Let's roll through the chat, say our goodbyes for the morning, and then we'll get on out of here. Let's see what you guys say. Actually, let me see if I can real quick. Let me find a outro for it. There we go. All right. Well, let's check and see what you guys got to say in the chat. Let me see what all you guys got to say. You guys are arguing with PJR. That's fun stuff. You guys are in a fun little argument there. Man, okay, just nothing. Man, you guys are just completely arguing. Mogera says, take care, Jose. Toad's wrong about sushi. He sure is. Which I think I might try to get him on tonight. For those who like our Hoppa series, I'll have Austin back on tomorrow to continue our Dutroux series. So for those who like my paywall stuff, don't forget I also got that Palantir episode up right now. So that's public. From behind the paywall, I still got some of those Wendy things. So yeah. But yeah, with that, guys, for those who want to support what I'm doing, if you don't want to chip any money, I get it. Leave a like, share, subscribe, comment, leave a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. Follow me on Twitter at TowerGangJose. Those are all actions that don't cost a single buck and help the show grow. Also, I have I read off my sponsors every episode. Oh, real quick, I also want to let you guys know what you get at the... I'm retarded. I just fucked up my spiel. I just realized I didn't even say the thing I thought I said. If you want to support me with money, patreon.com/NoWayJose2020. The lowest level is $2. It's where you get access to early episodes. I usually keep about 4 behind the paywall and only do like a couple of weeks. So that's weeks of paywall content. You also get access to the ad-free RSS feed. You get access to the Telegram. You get access to the pre-show and priority for the call-ins on me and Austin's weekly live call-in show, Already Dead, which was yesterday, Tuesdays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Goes out on both of our platforms. Also, we get a shout out to my sponsors at the highest level. This is at patreon.com/NoWayJose2020. It used to be my co-host on Tower Gang, at Learn to Toad, also at Abrogate D's, at ZOVRACK, at _ Zeal, Tim Tuttle, at John Klebold, Will Bell, Delicious Blueberry Rabbit Eye Wine, big fan of the show, Torme, at Wayne, WAYNE, Taculus, Jordan Pearson, and there is another one I got to add. I'm going to hit you up right after the show on Patreon. Be like, hey, man, how do you want me to plug you on the show? But got another one coming, too. So appreciate everyone supporting the show. Love you all. I should be, like I said, I might have the Toad on tonight. Also, will be tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern. Should be catching you guys here. So look forward to that. With that, guys, we're going to get out of here. Love you all. Deuces. Let me put this up instead. Here we go. And it says, for the audio people, it says, Trump explaining himself to Pam Bondi and Dan Bongino. So here you go. Enjoy this outro. I will see you all.
What? Jeffrey Epstein?
Yeah, but before you judge me, know this. Yes, I was on the sex island, but only for the snorkeling. I didn't know anything about the kid stuff. No, look, 95% of what went on down there was not pedophilia.
Oh, yeah?
No, the other 5%, that sullied the whole operation.
Yeah, it sure did.